Okay, good evening, everyone. It is 8:30 sharp, and we want to start right on time. I trust that all of you had a good dinner, or if you haven't, then just hold on to your tummies, and you'll be fed. Hopefully, later. Just want to thank you, all of you, for making the time, and I really, really believe that this is going to be worthwhile. Especially in a situation where we're facing a lot of anxiety and people don't really have any form of outlets. And what more when it comes to young people? We're talking about people who are students, people who are from primary all the way to secondary and university. Even my wife is still a student, that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, they go through different forms of stress. And I want to introduce a speaker because when she did a training for the pastoral team, we were so impressed. That's because when she just speaks, she just drops words of wisdom and nuggets of truth that will really, really inspire a lot of us. And Joynn has been a counselor for a long time. She was previously with Sunway University as a student counselor, and right now she's a wonderful mom. You might see her little offspring, the kid, which is Jesse, and the father is, of course, Alvin. And I'm sure that you'll be very, very blessed. Now, as Susan mentioned earlier, if any of you have any questions, you can put it in a chat, because we're going to have a Q&A session at the end. And hopefully, Joynn will be able to answer anything that you have. So without further ado, we're going to start the whole topic about understanding students right now. So over to Joynn.
Hi, thanks for tuning in and for the lovely introduction. Can you guys hear me well? Is it clear? Yeah, okay. So I understand that...
Sorry. I think your second device needs to go off. Alvin's on a second device. It will create an echo. Sorry,
I
Alvin.
see.
Sorry, you can't watch it live.
Share screen.
Okay, Alvin, you have to move, Alvin. Okay. So anyway, my name is Joynn. I think some of you may have difficulty pronouncing it. So if you find difficult, just call me Jo in short. Okay. So today's topic is called understanding students. It's actually quite a big topic. So I try to cover as much as I can in a short amount of time. But if you have any questions, like the host say, you just post it up on the chat then at the end of the session, I hope they'll be able to answer you as much as possible. Okay, so let me just share screen first. Okay, maybe we can start off with a polling. So I need the host to help me on this. So if you can, if you have your phone with you, please participate in this poll. Okay, so what are some of the challenges your child faces that you are aware of? So you can pick more than one where applicable. So if you're working with students, you're a student leader, you can also answer this question. It just let me give a sense of whether what are some of the issues that students are facing. Because I have my own statistics, but this is just for me to, it's some form of interaction with you guys, or for me to hear from you as well. So this up.
Okay, sorry everyone. It should be launched now. The polling should come up on your device. So if you can go ahead, some of you, I see one of you just answered. So just go ahead and choose the answers that apply. There's 2 questions. I hope it's coming up on your devices. So you can go ahead and click on those and submit your answers. That will help Joynn to see how you feel about this topic and what you've experienced with the students in your family. After all the answers have come in, then I will share them. Joynn, can you see the answers coming in?
Oh, I can't. I have to stop screen share, is it?
Okay, maybe this is the host, I can see them. Yeah. Okay, I will share as of right now. I'm seeing, I think 4 people have answered so far. Oh, 10 people have answered so far. They're doing well. Once we have all the answers, then I will post them up to you.
Right.
Is that okay? Just give
Yeah.
it. Okay, so if there's 40 participants, I think about 20 have put in their answers so far. So that's great. We have about half of your answers coming in. It's quite interesting to see. Okay, so everyone else, if you have not submitted your answers, it's really helpful if you can go ahead, click there on your device and submit your answers for those 2 questions. Thank you. Okay, we're coming to a slow down now. 25 of you have submitted your answers. 27. We'll give it okay, one more minute. I think 73% of us have voted already. So we'll just give it one more minute, let you get your answers in before we share the results. Okay. Joynn, do you want me to share the results?
Yeah,
now?
please. So I have to stop sharing my screen, is it?
Yes, I think so. And then I will end the poll and let's see what our answers were. Okay, can you see that?
No, I can't.
Okay, I am actually sharing the results right now. Can everyone else see the results?
Yes, we can.
Oh, I can't see.
Okay, everyone else can see. Joynn, maybe I have to read for you then. Okay. So what are the challenges your child faces that you are aware of? Academic related issues was 54%.
Okay.
Friendship issues was 50%. Self-esteem 54. Suicidal issues is 23. Career choices 15. Family issues 31. Bullying 27. Addiction or substance abuse is 15, mental health 15, and others was 12%.
Okay. So the highest is to be academic, friendship, suicidal ideation is quite high, right?
Yeah, so self-esteem,
yeah,
academic, and friendship issues came in at the highest.
Okay. Right. How about the second question?
Okay, so for our second question, what are the things that you did to help them in that situation? Heart-to-heart talk came in at 81%. Highest was also encouraging them and praying for them, both at 81%. Quality time, 65. Giving advice, 54. Including God in the picture, 73. Help them in whatever they need, 58. And others was 4. So highest was pray for them, encourage them, and a heart-to-heart talk.
Okay. Yeah, I think the second one is all very positive kind of strategies. I'm sure all of us have used it at some point. Okay, so the first one, let's go to the first one first because that's where our focus will be right now. Okay, so let's just compare with your experiences and what is happening in Malaysia and Europe. I'm focusing more on Malaysia, but we can see similar trends worldwide as well. So this came out in the news just recently, top 3 challenges for students. This student counselor also, she was citing these 3 main issues, okay? Academic pressure, mental health issues, and also unfavorable school experiences. What do we mean by unfavorable school experiences? Maybe like teacher playing favoritism. Then, in public schools, things tend to be a bit more political, right? So some students of certain race gets singled out. So these are what we mean by unfavorable school experiences. It could be also problems with friends, bullying. Okay, right. So
Joynn, sorry. You can share screen again so we can see your slides.
Yeah. Sorry, forgotten. Okay, can you see? Okay, sorry. Okay, so these are the top 3 challenges. Came out in the newspaper recently. Okay, I also asked informally of some of the student counselors that within my circle, or what are some of the reasons that students came to them for counseling for. So these are some of the common issues they cited: family issues, peer relationship issues, bullying. For older teens, they are not sure or what career pathways to go for, and also a lot of them cited mental health issues. We need to the extent which they need psychiatric support. So it means that they are on medication, right? Okay, this is another article. Burnout among students on the rise. Okay, yeah. So this article is written. I mean, they did an interview with a few therapists, psychologists, and psychiatrists. They recognize that especially during this pandemic season, right, there's this increase of burnout among students because they have to, keep changing. It's going to school, then learning online, then going back to school again. So that's part of the thing. The other one is still when they are at home, there is a need to help out with the house chores and looking after the younger siblings if there's any. So similar to what the adults are facing as well. So you have to work, in terms of the studies and also in the family responsibilities. So you can read in detail on what they're saying. But basically, this burnout is causing a rise also in mental health issues. Okay, like Clean mentioned just now, right? I work in a university previously, and this is a data collected. We do collect data also as well of what are some of the issues that students came for. So you can see that study pressure or academic related issues is still on the top, very similar to what you guys have voted, and also issues itself, esteem and confidence, friendship and relationship. But what happened last year was we see a climb with suicidal issues, and made it into top 5. So this is a real concern for a lot of us working in the mental health care, working with students, because we did expect to see it increase every year, but we didn't really expect to make it like to a top 5. So hopefully it doesn't go into top 3, it stay there or even will go down. But we can see, so this like I mentioned, there's also articles are saying that students need mental health support during the COVID lockdown because a lot of them experiences anxiety. So these are some of the stresses that they mentioned, like financial constraints, because a lot of them, their parents are laid off. Also, not a lot of people have very good internet, and that's very disruptive for their learning. And also there's this sense of uncertainty about the future. So I know a lot of university students, their studies have been postponed or delayed. So they don't really know when they're graduating. Even like for primary, secondary school students, their major exams are also getting pushed, and forward as well. Okay. So our friend here, Dr. Adam, actually did say something meaningful for once. Okay, so they wanted to conduct a survey on Malaysian students' mental health. Okay, and why is that so? Because they just did a national health and mobility survey in 2017. So I just share with you some of the interesting statistics that they found. Okay, so this is one of them. Okay, they sampled around 30,000 students. So the students that they sampled is around 13 to 17 years old. Okay, so that is the range of students they sampled. Okay, so you can look at internet addiction. 2 in 7 are considered addicted to the internet in Malaysia. Okay, I did not put this in the survey, but this is interesting to note. Okay, and what about drugs use? 3.4% are current drug users. Okay, not too bad. Okay. 17% of them initiated drug use at age 7 years or younger. So this is quite alarming statistics for me. When I first saw it, I was quite surprised actually. Yeah. So 1 in 25 secondary school students in Malaysia claim to have ever used drugs. Okay, bullying. Mentioned earlier, 1 in 6 adolescents was a recent victim of bullying. So there's also other research say that the most common form of bullying would be name calling or emotional bullying. Okay, not so much of physical. Okay, so more boys are bullied compared to girls. Okay, alcohol use. Alcohol. Okay, about 1 in 10 students are current drinkers. They drink, and then 6% have reported drunkenness before, and then 76% of them had their first alcoholic beverage before the age of 14 years old. So when you read further on the statistics in the report, right, they say that I think most of them they were first introduced to alcohol by their parents. So yeah, so that's how they get the first taste. Okay, sex and teens. This is another common issue, and it's very rampant even among primary school students. Okay, okay. So among surveyed, right, 7.3% had already had sex. Okay, between the age of 13 and 17. Okay, so this is also a bit alarming for me. So 35% of them had sex before age 14 years old. Okay, and 21. This is for boys lah. So girls 27. For boys, 21% had multiple sexual partners, and 11% of them of girls had multiple sexual partners. Currently, 6% of boys are still active in their sex life, and also girls, 5%. Okay, so this is just about how many of them have engaged in sex already, right? And the other one would be how many of them actually practice safe sex. And only 12% say they use condoms, or 10% of them say they use other forms of birth control. So underage sex is also a serious issue that a lot of schools are facing because it is considered rape, right? I mean, it's a legal issue, even if they are two consenting individuals, right? But as long as it involves minor, it's considered as rape. So you can be tried in court. I mean, you can be charged. So if you're a teacher, I'm sure you are mandated to report if you know of any form of this kind of sexual activities happening. Okay. So this is a tricky issue because a lot of teachers also find that whether do they report or not report, especially if they say that, okay, I mean their boyfriend, girlfriend, and then they consented. Okay. But bear in mind they're still minors. Okay. So this one, suicidal behavior. So suicidal behavior was highest among Form 1 students. 11.2% had suicidal ideation before. 9% had actually had a plan. Okay, and 10.1% actually attempted. So this is also a very high number of students actually attempted suicide. So they're not just thinking about it, they're not just having a plan, but they actually attempted before. Okay. Yeah, so and then the state of their mental health. So 1 in 5 is considered depressed, 2 in 5 is anxious, and 1 in 10 is very stressed. Okay, so they talk about physical and verbal abuse at home also. So 1 in 10 teenagers are physically abused, 4 in 10 verbally abused. So boys suffer more physical abuse and girls suffer more verbal abuse. Okay, I'm glad they actually did a study on this as well, because this is what we call protective factors, things that will protect the students from all this negative or at-risk behavior, which is peer and family support. Okay, so less than half adolescents perceive that their parents knew what they were doing in their free time. So this is the adolescents, the teenagers' perception of whether it's a true reflection of how much parental monitoring is done in them. This is just a perception, okay? So only 1 in 3 adolescents perceive that their parents understood their problems. Not too bad, slightly less than half, okay? 1 in 7 adolescents perceive that their parents check their homework, and less than half adolescents had peer support at school. So even for teenagers, right, relationship with friends is one of the very important area in their life. So if they perceive that they're not having parental support, but also not having peer support, so you can imagine, so when they have problems, right, what happened to them? Okay, so I guess this will give an idea or a clue, like what is happening. Okay, so they may be surrounded by friends, they may have a lot of friends, but they may not necessarily think that they have the kind of support from friends. Okay, right. So maybe another way of looking at this is, I know when we talk about students and in the context of school, we always think about academic achievement and academic outcomes. But another way to look at it is to see this topic as how can we contribute, to the well-being of students. So students or our children are more than just their A's and B's, in their score sheets. Although we say that, but we still, I think in schools we still can see there's still a lot of emphasis based on academic outcomes. Okay, there's a lot of times also when teachers want to address a certain problem, or teachers or the school environment, right, where they pay attention to a particular student, is always when the student is not performing well in school, right? That's the first indication of or the first concern. So at the end of the day, what they want is, okay, solve all these other problems so that you can get your straight A's. Okay, but what I'm trying to say is, maybe you can think of it in another way, that sometimes maybe the goal is not for them to have the straight A's, but sometimes it's for them to build these other areas of their life. When we talk about well-being, it's not just about academic outcomes. We want to see their quality of life, whether at that stage of their life, do they have fulfilling life experiences? Are they able to feel a lot of positive emotions in what they're doing, or they're just doing it with dread? Okay, are they functioning well? Do they have a sense of purpose? Are they having positive relationships with their friends? Do they have all the characteristics that they can build on, like communication skills, leadership skills? So we look at the person as a whole-rounded person, not just in terms of, okay, let's just solve your family relationship issue so that you can get straight A's by this year SPM. Okay, so a lot of times the approach is like that, so they get even more pressured, you see, because they have to solve their family problem, at the same time also think about the academic goals. So sometimes to help them, maybe to really understand what is needed at that point of time and what they want. Maybe the academic goals are secondary. You may disagree with me. So I know that a lot of parents, academics still come first, has a tough time convincing them also about looking in another way. Okay, so next, we want to look at some of the contributing factors. There's no, I think when we talk about this issue, a lot of people want to know, why is my child like that? Or how come students nowadays are like that? How come they got so many problems? Why they cannot take pressure? Why are they not like us last time? We also go through all these things, but we turn out fine. Actually, I would think that I will always say that you think you turn out fine. You think only, but maybe you are not as fine as you thought you are. I mean, as Christians, we believe that we turn out fine is because of the grace of God, definitely. Okay, so sometimes so to understand them a little bit more, it's not that simplistic, even though that problem seems very simple. Okay, you just choose what is the issue, family issue, okay, study pressure, okay, anxiety. But why it happened and how it happened the way it did is not that simple. Okay, so one of the main contributing factors of I see in students having problems, right, would be attributed to family. Okay, so we live in a very complex society right now. So there's a lot of kind of family structure. Okay, so there's no more the father, mother, and children and grandparents, that kind of family structure that we may be familiar with. So there's blended, there's extended, and then there's step families, foster families, adopted families. So there's a lot of kind of different kind of family setups. In the West, you have same-sex couple family. Okay, so that adds another layer of complexity. Okay, so and when I talk to a lot of students, actually they cited the parents have marital issues. Okay, and divorce being a common one, and also financial issues. Okay, so how can the family financial issues affect them? Oh, of course it does. Let me give you an example. Like in the university, when they are aware that the family have financial issues, that makes them even more stressed out because they think that they cannot afford to fail because their family then don't have the extra money to pay. So if they're studying overseas, they're also very stressed because then they cannot delay their studies, it will mean additional cost. Or some of them, I know, and they are already failing, and then they know that they have this financial constraint. I mean, in Malaysia context, they know that their options to go to other universities are quite little because private universities are very expensive, right? And then to go into public universities, like some of them won't even consider it. So you can understand that how that gives them like so much pressure, like do or die, they have to pass. So yeah, so some of them, their parents are incarcerated or addicted to drugs, domestic violence, or absent parents. Like when I was in Singapore doing my studies and doing my internship there, in a lot of students that I talked to, the parents actually, or one of their parents actually work overseas, so they are not around physically. Okay, and even if they are around in Singapore, they work very late and they don't really see the parents because by evening they will be all going for their tuition and all that, right? Okay, so the parents can be like seen, not felt, or the other way around. Not the other way. Okay, we're mostly seen now, but not felt. Okay, okay. This one is common. Like we see in the statistics, like a lot of them perceive that the parents are non-supportive. Yeah. So, and some of them have poor siblings relationships. So that makes like even strain in the family. They feel like they really have no one to turn to. Parents also, they're not really trusting to tell them about what they're going through. Then if they have poor sibling relationship, that makes it even lesser support for them. And inadequate parenting. Okay, so this is related to marital issues. So a lot of times the husband and wife unit is not strong. So I hear a lot of times when students, one of the parents will actually confide in them about your daddy is like this, your mommy is like that. So they have to take on the burden, and instead of adults giving adults emotional support, so the child now has to play the parent role and give the mother the emotional support. And this is a burden that they shouldn't need to carry. Okay. And so I think in short, I can summarize it as if there's some sort of instability in the family, right? Then that is where they will be affected. And where it is most prominent will be then in the school, because that's where you can see that their grades are dropping and whatnot. But not necessarily all the time. So I have a lot of friends who I know a lot of students actually where I worked last time, they are high achievers, but they're also addicted to drugs at the same time. So not necessarily will result in poor academic performance all the time. Okay, so another form of factors that contributing to the challenges that they face will be our very outdated education system. As you all know, the current education system that Malaysia still emphasizes is considered very archaic already. Still continue to emphasize on testing scores, and although they did do away with some of the major examinations, as I understand it, but it's the way it is conducted, the lessons is still about a lot of vomiting out information, and that's it. So it's not really learning. It's all year round you're just preparing for your exams. I mean, it's the same as A-levels as well. Actually, you're just preparing for your exams for 2 years, right? And why is it so stressful nowadays? It's because going to university has been a norm. Not so much in my parents' days, where you can still make it if you don't go to a university or prestigious universities. so-called. But nowadays it's a norm to go to universities, and in universities they set higher and higher standards. So everyone is in this rat race. Teachers have their own KPI. So in all of the school settings that I work in, all of their teachers, the KPI is how many students get an A in their class. So that's their KPI. So you can understand why the white environment is very pressurizing. No teacher is going to say that, oh, it's okay, you did try your best, you had a C, as long as you try. There's no teacher is going to say that, okay, because it will affect the KPI. Or subtly, they will say that, okay, let's go for extra classes and whatnot, okay, and try to up your ranking a bit. And a lot of times, so the stress source will be in school, invariably, and also parents. Sometimes subtly, sometimes not so subtly. I don't know. Like, I can't interact with you guys, but if I could, I would ask this question: like, do you choose a university for your child? Do you choose which school they go to, and what's your reasoning for choosing a certain school? Maybe if there's an opportunity, you can share with me on that. Okay, so and also the child themselves, right? A lot of them also have self-esteem issues because they grew up in this very high standard society where no one talks about failing, seriously. Everyone talks about success and how to go to good universities and this whole culture of like you have to do everything perfectly, and if you try something, it has to work, right? If not, then you just try and make it happen. So no one tells you that it's okay that even if you try, sometimes things don't work out. I mean that's life. Sometimes you can try, but you still don't get what you want. So to grow in this kind of environment, they could develop low self-confidence, and also some students may not be very resilient. They don't bounce back easily, and also they may not have the coping skills needed to deal with certain life issues, like we mentioned, support system, and also belief system. A lot of them really believe like, oh, it's the end of the world if I don't go to university, or they don't think that if I ask for help, it just goes on to show that I'm more stupid, or I just confirm to them that I am indeed, stupid or things like that. So they have maybe a flawed beliefs about themselves or belief about how the world works, and also that contributes with a lot of these issues. And also biologically speaking, children and teenagers, right? Their brain is not fully developed yet, where their prefrontal cortex, right? So they rely a lot on their emotions because that's where it's activated more during decision making. It is biology. So sometimes it's okay to go soft on them a little bit because, in another word, they're just not really fully mature yet in a lot of like rational thinking or rational decision making. And for teenagers, you have to understand about the biological changes also for girls, puberty and all the hormones, haywire and everything. It's really a very stressful time for them. They have to, they have a lot of questions on, nowadays you have the internet, but I'm sure it is still quite something, to go through puberty, to have this awakening as well. Suddenly you find the opposite sex attractive, and all this while in primary school, we don't really bother about them. So they go through a lot of all these changes, and at the same time they need to cope with a lot of demands, especially in school. So we can see that why it can be very stressful for them. Now, of course, technology and social media is, I would say, everyone recognizes that it has a lot of benefits, but also that if it's not used carefully, it can have a lot of drawbacks as well. So for our children, they are in 24/7 constant peer interaction. So yes, last time we do have peer pressure, but our peer pressure is in a very limited circle, right? Because we don't have internet. So it's just maybe if you're from Cheras, so maybe your peer pressure is confined to just Cheras, or maybe even smaller, your neighborhood, or maybe just your school. But now with the internet, right, you're being bombarded by everything that is happening around the world 24 hours 7. Okay, and then you have 24 hours 7 peer interaction. So you are exposed to that kind of pressure 24 hours 7. And also there's this sense of lack of privacy when you post things online. So you make yourself very vulnerable to a lot of other elements which may not be favorable to you, like cyberbullying or like negative comments, which children or teenagers may not be able to handle. Okay. So it does foster connection, but not always in a very healthy way. So actually, there's a research done that says that even with social media, and then they have a lot of friends, right? We do report higher levels of loneliness, envy, anxiety, depression, and also body image issues. And with social media, it forces you to multitask, but research also shows that it's very detrimental. And also, they grow up in a society where if they are bored, then they can just switch to something that they like immediately or change. So entertainment is also 24 hours 7. So with technology, everything also becomes easier and more convenient. So they don't need to wait. They don't really understand what is wait. Like they think that if I put in this amount of effort, then it will result in the kind of outcome that I want immediately. So there's this diminished sense of delayed gratification in general with technology and also social media. Okay. So moving on, I would like to share then what can you do to support them through some of these challenges. I see I will pull out some of these. I think most of you are already doing one or if not all. Okay. I don't have a specific thing like okay, how do I help my child if he's addicted to drugs, and maybe you can address in the Q&A later, but these are more general guidelines because we are touching on a lot of issues, right? Okay, so number one would be to provide a safe environment where the child can be vulnerable. What do I mean by safe environment? So we're talking about physically it is safe, and of course emotionally it is safe. So I believe in all of your households, a lot of you, we have a safe physical environment. We don't abuse your child, I hope, or practice excessive physical punishment. Nowadays, if you cane your child excessively, it's considered abuse. The teachers can report you as well. So make sure that if you want to implement physical punishment, your child don't go to school with bruises. Okay, it may be acceptable last time, but not really now. Okay. So physically safe and also emotionally safe. So I have a lot of students which they say that they think that they cannot talk to their parents, even when they're very suicidal. And I have to call their parents. They actually break down and cry and beg me not to tell their parents. They say that if you tell my parents, I'm going to really go and jump down now, or I really die now, that kind of thing. So sometimes I wonder, is it really that scary for the parents to know, what they imagine will happen, Yeah, so what does it mean by emotional safety? Meaning they feel secure that when they tell their parents something, the parents won't attack them back or nag them or give them a good one or lecture them. And they have this sense of confidence and trust towards their parents that, my parents can handle this. No, I can't, but my parents can. I can go to them and they will help me out. So I think very little of clients like to actually have that relationship with their parents. Of course, you may say that. Of course, that's why they go to you, right? Yeah. So this. So in order to remedy that, so you have to provide a safe environment for them to share. Yeah. So why is it important that your child feels safe with you, so that not just to tell you about their problems or what they're going through in life, but also then they can be confident to approach new challenges. Imagine they're always in fear, then I don't know, I'm very scared, I don't know what my parents will say, I don't know what my father will say. They always don't dare to try new things, you see. They always follow the familiar route, which actually doesn't work for them. That's why they are very stressed out and they don't know what to do. So I know that a lot of parents, then when I talk to them about this, then they'll say, I got talk, I always want to talk, he's the one that always don't want to talk to me, lock himself in the room. So when I ask the fellow something, she just ignore me, I don't want to say anything, give me one word answer, two word answer, what am I supposed to do? Okay, so to build that kind of trusting and safe relationship, that doesn't happen overnight. So sometimes I try to understand if the only time you're willing to set aside time to talk to that person is when the person did something wrong, then obviously your child won't want to talk to you, because talking to you means something is not right, something's not good that came out. Okay. So be available for them. Safe environment means that you really set aside time to listen to them and so that they can share with you. They have the heart talk, right? So a lot of you mentioned that you have a heart to heart talk. So you can imagine you can't have a heart to heart talk where both of you are playing video games or one of you is watching football, And maybe with our spouse also, it's very hard to have heart to heart talk. So think of with your spouse, how you have the heart to heart talk. Sometimes you say, I got heart to heart talk, but it doesn't work. So maybe the example is you think about with your spouse, so how you do it, and see whether you can apply the same principles with your child as well. So I know that also a lot of times parents who are working, when they come back, they're really, really very tired. And this is what some of the parents also tell me. So I got no time, I already have a lot of problems on my own, this is where the marital issues come in, because they have their own personal problem. So I understand that, but your child really needs you. So I'm not sure, like if parents answer me that way, I really have no other, this is what you do, then tip number 1, tip number 2, tip number 3. So I guess I always throw back, then it's your choice then. So this is your child, this is what your child is going through, this is what is recommended, and so it's your choice then to see what you make out of it. So what do you want out of this situation? Okay, so like I say, the foundation has to be from a secure, loving, dependable relationship. Okay, the second part is acknowledge and supporting children to seek help. Okay, so the first one is to acknowledge and support them is also to mean that don't diminish their feelings or treat it as trivial. So a lot of times we say that this is nothing, or your friend don't invite you to your birthday. It's okay, nothing. Why you got other friends? Okay. So sometimes we don't see how that is a very important thing to them, or like not being able to go to prom with the guy of their choice. Things like this okay. I know it seems very trivial, but they can be upset for weeks, and sometimes you don't understand why. Okay, so but can you imagine when you were 7-year-old or when you were 10-year-old, what was the most important thing for you? Sometimes also I know that as adults we forget, we have to pay the bills, we have work stress, we have to pay mortgage and things like that. So it's very hard to see the world as the child sees it. So try to relate to them in that way. Don't diminish their feelings. Okay, at least they say that, I can see that you're upset about not having this gone your way, or not being able to achieve this and that. So try to validate them, empathize with them as much as you can. Tell them you love them. Convey unconditional love. Your child needs to hear it. Okay. I know it's not easy. I mean, with my child also, sometimes I don't think I can love him unconditionally. Even though he's just like 1.5 years old, I'm like, oh my gosh. His testing behaviors comes way sooner than I expected it to come. Okay. So sometimes, at the end of the day, we may have a very, very rough day, but at the end of the day, I think I still make a point to say that, I'm sorry if I did certain things that makes you upset as well. And I do tell him verbally that I love him. I know with Asian parents, sometimes they don't say I love you. Or they might say it not really meaning it. But your child really needs to know it, from time to time. Okay. So you have to acknowledge that sometimes they need help, and don't be afraid to seek help. And I know that a lot of parents, when they have issues whether in the family or whether their child is going through certain issue, problems like with drug addiction, for example, they don't necessarily want to seek help. They think that, I know the less people know is the better for privacy reasons, and they think that they can just fix it by themselves. Maybe you can, but after a while, if you see that it's not really working out, and then the thing is, the situation is getting haywire, maybe it's time for you to seek help, for professional help, or maybe engage the school. I know that in my university last time, we have a lot of parents who doesn't want to disclose if their child has certain learning disability because they don't want them to, people to treat them any differently. Okay, but we always tell the parents that we want to know that so that we can give them additional support if needed. Yeah. So sometimes they have their own reservations about why they don't seek help. Also, I understand, so we try to work things out that way. But if you can, be open and know when to seek professional help. Okay, I will explain more on that later. Okay. Okay, so help children to help. You can support them by helping them to weather the tough times. There are a lot of problems that your child may go through that you won't be able to help them solve it. Okay, just like how in your workplace, you may complain, you may rant to your spouse, but at the end of the day, you are the only one that can resolve it on your own, right? You are the one that needs to do the work. So same thing with your child, teach them that tough times or challenging times are inevitable. So give them the skills, teach them the skills, problem solve, how to manage. Sometimes the situation cannot be changed. There's really no way out of it. So teach them, then they can manage how they respond to the situation. Okay. They see you as the okay. So you set yourself up as the role model. Okay. So they do observe how you resolve difficult issues also. So if in your workplace also you're not handling it very well, I think they can see it, or maybe simple things like anger issues. Okay, they see that if at home also you're always yelling and shouting, so I guess that's what they would do as well. So I mean, you are their role model. Okay, or you can share personal stories of with them also how you resolve certain similar situations in the past. Okay, so instead of nagging them and lecturing them, oh, this is last time when I was younger, this is what I do. Don't do it in that tone. Do it in a more like generally wanting like to share, like, oh, this is how mommy and daddy did it, and it kind of work. So maybe you want to consider if you want to do the same. So don't share it like it's like the way to do it. Okay. So when I say support, many parents misunderstood as help them fix the problem. Okay, so what's the difference, right? So for example, there's a child who says that, oh, I'm not so good in math, so I've been failing behind. So I mean, academic related problems is quite common in universities as well. So what parents normally do is then they will try to find a tuition teacher or try to change class to a better class, or sometimes they even go to extent to change school. I pay so much, you lousy teacher don't know how to teach, So we have that kind of situation as well where the parent jump in and help them fix it. So the child doesn't really learn how to, struggle with the issue themselves, and they try to think of ways on how they can like maybe self-learn first, and see if that doesn't work out, maybe try another way. So parents cushion them a lot, so they don't really learn, to utilize their own resources in resolving this issue. So that may not be good for them in the long run. Okay. Yeah. So like I say, telling them it's okay to fail. That's how they learn. Okay. And then of course, you always want to encourage them to find comfort in God's word, and teach them to rely on the grace of God. Okay. So at the end of the day, like I say, a lot of times you can try You can try. But unless God opens the door or God makes it work for us, right, we will find ourselves keep on failing as well. So it's really not about us or our own intellect, our own capability. So a lot of times it's really, you teach them the concept of what is favor, what is the grace of God, in helping them to weather through these tough times. Okay. Yeah. So you can support them by having family rituals or practices that promotes well-being. Okay. Family time is very, very important. I don't know, in my family, it's very intentional. Also, I think it's very, how to say, I mean, it's the norm lah, but I know that in a lot of families, right, they don't really have a proper family time. Like I say, maybe in a different society in Singapore, it's very rare to have family time. I see so many families, they don't even have family dinners together. Okay. The family time is actually a reward to the child. So the mother or parents will say that, oh, if you do well in your PSLE, then I will bring you to Disneyland or something. As a form of reward. so it's not for the sake of having family time. It's just like a bribery or incentive, you might call it. Okay, incentive. So help them to understand that they need to take care of themselves also. Like I said, total well-being just now, right? So provide time out every day while a child can engage in whatever that they enjoy. So a lot of students tell me this, right? Okay, I'm going to relax tonight. I'm not going to study because they totally cannot absorb anymore. They're going to relax like 5 hours. Then after that, they're going to burn the midnight on. Then what I usually tell them is the point of you to relax is to relax. It's not for you to relax so that you can do more later. I mean, that's not really the point. So the relaxing and having leisure time should be an end by itself. Okay. So that's why they're more anxious. That's why they say they cannot relax. Of course, they cannot relax because when they're relaxing, they're thinking of the 1001 things they need to do later. Okay. So help them to be able to enjoy all these things other than constantly thinking of needing to achieve or achieve something. Okay. Between couples also you have to learn to strengthen the marriage, okay, and be aware to discuss like family issues around the child. So like I said earlier, a lot of times the child shouldn't carry the burden of what is lacking in the relationship. Okay. And don't forget to invest in your own well-being as parents. I know that it's very stressful. I do learn that once you're a parent, you are a parent forever. Like now, Jesse's a toddler, so I have a set of challenges. When you're a toddler, when he's a toddler, then of course when he's older, there'll be another set of challenges. So the challenges doesn't seem to go to end anytime soon. I don't think. We just have to learn how to do it as it goes. Some of you have adult children as well, but So when you're a parent forever. So you need to invest in your own well-being. If you burn out of being a parent, then that's where things go haywire as well. So some things that you can do to support them. Most importantly, I think the first point I would emphasize again, like I say, a lot of times you really cannot fix the problem with them. If they're addicted to drugs, it is really at the end of the day their choice whether they want to stop using or not. What you can do is just be by their side and journey on with them, and be the one that they can fall on. So when they have problems, you want your child to run to you, not away from you, right? You want your child to be able to run to you and not away from you and seek help elsewhere. Although that's fine as well. Okay. But you should be the primary person because you're the primary caregiver. So legally you're held accountable for a lot of things also. Okay. So be aware when professional help may be appropriate. Okay. So sometimes you may think that whether my child is just misbehaving or just Not like Chinese saying, maybe he just thinks something fire. That's how he is, like to provoke me or things like that. Or sometimes it may not be that case. Sometimes maybe they genuinely need help. Maybe there's some underlying issues, right? So that's how you know is when you observe some of these changes, right, in their behavior. Okay, so if suddenly they display or over time they display a lot of very negative thoughts, like keep on say no point, there's no point living, and they seem to be in a very confused state and also express these other thoughts as well. You might want to take things seriously as well. Changes in behavior is more obvious where you see them quite often, or maybe last time they are very outgoing, then suddenly they don't want to see their friends, always look themselves in the room, or trouble sleeping is a frequent complaint as well. Very frequent outbursts or underreacting also. Some people underreact, okay, or less energetic, quieter than usual. Drop in academic performance. He used to do well, so there's no reason for him not to do well. So they can be a sign so that he may need professional help. Even difficulty coping with daily tasks, not showering, not eating well, very frequent complaints of body symptoms, here pain, there pain, headaches. And also if you notice changes in feelings, like they do express prolonged feelings of like very sad and feel very guilty, worry about a lot of things, anxious or fearful or lonely or unhappiness, or you observe also mood swings. So that's where you need to seek help. So each child, of course, their temperament and their habits and their lifestyle differs. So you can discern for yourself if you notice any changes, and then you seek professional help. Okay, so I provide you with some resources on where can you go for help. For 24 hours 7 hotline, there isn't a lot, but Befrienders is one of them. And also Dahlia Noor, you can call. Also, because of COVID-19, right, a lot of heightened stress. So they do provide psychosocial support also. So this is where you can call. I just recently encountered this Buddy Bear. It's a hotline for children. So for school-going kids, you can encourage them to call. Maybe they want to complain about daddy, mommy, but they no one to talk to, right? So you can ask them to call this number. Yeah. So they are all handled by trained. Not all are mental health professionals, but they are trained. Okay. So you can be assured that it's safe to call. Maybe Befrienders, they lack of volunteers. So sometimes you should call, no one pick up, or it's always engaged. So I have clients who had the experience also. Okay, so online-based counseling services, that's Relate Malaysia and Help For You. Help For You is totally free, so you can engage also. And Relate Malaysia, you need to pay, but it's substantially lower the fees as I understand it. Okay. And these are the list of counseling services that I personally have students engaged before, or I know that they have legitimate mental health professionals working there. So you can take note of it as well if you want. Some are very cheap and some are very premium here. So you got to call and ask and see what suits your needs. Okay. And also the location wise. Okay. So if you need to engage some of the services, these are some of the places you can go to for help as well. Okay. So I've ended my session for now. I'm going to pass back the time to Clean to facilitate the Q&A. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much. So can we all give her a hand? That was a lot of preparation and work put into that. And I think it's been helpful for all of us, depending on when we were students. Some of you may still be students. For some of us, it was longer ago than others when we were students, right? But I think the world has changed a lot, and you brought up a lot of great points that the family has changed a lot, the culture has changed a lot, and just the internet has changed everything. So thanks so much for bringing us to realize why students are dealing with so much more today than they were when maybe we were students. I think that's really good. So we've actually reached 9:30 exactly. Joynn, you are on the ball time-wise. Wow, like to the minute, ending at 9:30. So if some of you need to go off right away, you can. We always try to keep these webinars exactly on time, 1 hour. However, we are going to open now the question and answer. So if you don't need to run off, if you have some extra time, then stay with us because we're gonna give her some tough questions. So any question you have right now, the way we're gonna do it tonight is throw it in the chat, okay? Because there's like 50 of us on here. So if you start unmuting, it's gonna get messy. So the best thing you can do is put it in the chat, okay? If it's too personal, you could put it directly to the host. If not, then just feel to throw it up there. We're family. So just throw it in the chat there for everyone. And Joynn will be able to see the questions. We're gonna read them out for her. And then you can ask anything. I think if she can't answer it, she could maybe direct you to someone who can. Okay, so we actually have one question so far.
Okay, so the first there are times when my 8-year-old gets overly sensitive, telling me that everyone says he's not doing something good enough, probably just to get attention. To stop him from harboring on this thought is like not being supportive or willingly hearing him out. But to let him talk about this over and over again is also not healthy. How to best address this?
Okay. Right. So actually, yeah, usually I want to ask follow-up question like, what do you mean by not healthy, you know, this and this, but I understand the limitation, so I try to just look at this. Okay, so maybe what I would suggest is suspend all assumptions first on why is he saying this over and over to you. Okay, so maybe your 8-year-old is really getting messages that that he's not good enough, and at such a young age, I wonder, you know, where is he getting that message from? You know, is it from friends or is it from parents, or where is he getting the idea or belief from? You know, so maybe I would, you know, understand a little bit more on like what is the reason for him to say this, and usually when does this happen? You know, where when can I tell you this when he's having a bad day in school, or is it because of something happened, or is it because something is like repeatedly happening somewhere that, you know, that he's prompted, you know, to share this, you know. So really find out, you know, to hear from his from his own words, you know, that so what is bothering him, you know. So when he says not good enough, you know, it's still very vague, you know. I will explore also a little bit more, you know. Can you tell me like what are some of the instances where you feel that you're not doing good enough? Okay, it's just to validate, like I said just now, and it's very good that he actually comes to you to share, and he's very open to share. So I would say that actually it's a good thing. But of course, as parents, you will get tired lah. I will say that, oh, this one again, you know, this again. I thought we resolved this. I mean, it is common. So to hear him, to find out, to understand where is he really coming from. After you hear him out, of course, then you focus then. Now, of course, now you want him to be able to think differently about the situation, right? So there's a lot of way of doing it, but the most simple way is, you know, then help him explore. Okay, if you're saying you're not good in this, right, then what are you good in? Okay, maybe you feel very lousy about yourself because you're not good in math. That's why you feel like you're not good at all in everything. You know, like I say, sometimes even for adults, sometimes we are not good in something that we feel like, oh, I'm very lousy, you know, I'm a very bad parent. I scold my kids so much, I'm a very lousy parent. You know? So we overgeneralize things. So sometimes they may overgeneralize it. So you want to help them see, you know, like what are some things that you're good at. So maybe what are some of the incidents where teachers actually praise you, or mommy, daddy actually praise you for doing something well. So you want to help them explore their strengths. Okay, then help them to build a story from it, narrative. You know, you want to amplify their strengths, right? So help them to see from the beginning to the end how they did that something well. You know, maybe he's very good at, I don't know, 8-year-old, very good at swimming. So you don't just end at oh, you're very good at swimming, that's all. Then you want to build a story of how like last time, when he first started, he's not that good, he has to struggle a bit, his legs are everywhere, hands are everywhere. So but as he practiced, he actually got better, So then you can maybe relate it to the maths. Maybe it's the same thing, you may struggle, but sometimes, you put in more effort, you may get better as well. So you help them expand the stories um, of of their strengths, where their strengths are, because now the story of where their perceived incompetencies are like very great. Or sometimes maybe suddenly they may get the message, unfortunately, from you that they're not doing very well or may not be good enough. So yeah, so you may need to address that as well. So does that answer your question?
Okay, that was thank you, Joynn. That was a great answer. We have some more questions coming in. I'm going to go to the next one. Now, this one is for some of us here. I think some here who are not parents. So the question is, how do you help a teenage student where they are rebellious, but the parents are also quite hard to talk to? Maybe they're in a denial attitude. They're denying that anything is wrong. How would you address a situation like this?
Right. Okay. Like I say, so when I work with issues or work with cases, I try to minimize my usage of labels. So I don't, if as much as I know I know the intention of this question and understand the way to explain it simplistically. But if you're really working with students or parents, you want to reduce the labels. If I'm working with a student, I don't want to call him rebellious. Although the behavior may seem that way. So I will try to understand first the student, what is he doing and what's the function of the behavior. If he's always skipping school or if he's always defying the parents, like why is he doing that? And also with the parents, right? Sometimes you talk to them, you try to explain to them, your child is doing this in school. This is what I observe, and sometimes they don't. They seem to minimize the issue, which is also understandable. Sometimes it's just a face-saving strategy. Okay, they don't want to. Very embarrassing, to admit that your child has an issue, and to receive a call from school saying that my child, Mrs. So and so, today your child is sometimes can be very embarrassing to them. So try to understand that this may be just a mechanism for them to cope lah. Okay, so if they say that there's no such issue or they minimize the issue again, then they tend to do less of it lah. So meet them where they're at. Try if you can bring them all together to sit down and talk, and talk to parents. I understand that this may be a very difficult situation or challenging thing to talk about. You may have your own problems that you may need to deal with, and this doesn't seem like it's very important. So try to make them understand like why this behavior is important to address. You need to win them over first. So basically to work with parents also you need to build relationship with them also. You want to be seen like you're not frustrated at them, but you also like, I also want the best for your child, you see. So can we have a common goal? Can we have a common goal where we can work all together? And also you have to rope in with the student will be there. If the student will be there listening, so there's no secrets between all parties, So it's not like I talk bad about the student behind the student's back. So everyone is very transparent, everyone can be very truthful. So you have to be very, non-judgmental, non-biased. All you want here is just for the best of the student. You acknowledge everyone's difficulty and study. So you break down their defenses first. Okay, you try to break down everyone's defenses. Yeah, you try to understand, empathize. I know parents have own challenge. I know student. You're not trying to rebel. Maybe you just don't like the idea of how your parents are trying to decide the direction of your life. Okay, so try to reframe the whole situation in a more positive manner. Okay, so your child is not rejecting you, but it's just maybe rejecting the idea, that you're trying to control certain aspects of his or her life. Okay.
I think it's really fascinating that beyond just understanding students, it's really about parenting and about who children really are at the end of the day, and how much God has given us this opportunity to raise them up. There's another question, but before we go there, just want to encourage other people. If you have any more questions, to put it in the chat. We still have a few more minutes, so please don't be shy. Just put it down in the chat. So the next question is that based on the slides that Joynn that you shared, at what age are teens sexually active?
I don't have the actual statistics, but I know that there are, I mean, children in general are quite sexualized at a younger and younger age. Even if you see biologically, children are hitting puberty at a younger age. I mean, the norm used to be like around 13 years old, girls would start hitting puberty, but now it's very young. I think there's a lot of like 9, 10 years old, so they get their first menses already. So, and also because of the social media, they're sexualized quite early. Yeah, like I said, I don't have actual statistics, but during some of the trainings that I attended, the school counselors were very, very concerned because they were hearing reports of like 8, 9-year-olds also engaged in sex already in the schools. Okay, so it can be as early as that. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Joynn. Another question just came in. If a student is rude to teachers, you mean we are not able to say as it is such as do not be rude, or is there a need to be rude? Is that considered labeling? So if the student is rude, can the teacher say like that is rude, or would that be considered labeling?
Okay, I think it's okay to say, as a teacher, you have certain authority that's bestowed upon you, to manage a classroom behavior. But I think my own personal, the way I would do it is, even when I was teaching, I would say that, hey, you're being rude right now. I would just say, I would point out the behavior. When I asked you a question just now, the way you answered me, was this way, the tone of your voice was slightly raised. I will describe the behavior to him or her. Then I say how it affect me. I'll tell him, when you use the tone of voice, it actually, made me feel hurt, or, I don't really like it, or this like that. And then I would say that I would prefer that next time, you will do it in a different manner, this like that. So I don't want to just end it as, oh, you're being rude, I mean, you can, but it achieve a very short-term effect on like, then what is the alternative way that he or she can answer or behave. Okay. So yeah, it's a long-winded way of educating a child, but I guess that's what educators do. I mean, unless you're pressed for time, and then it's very disruptive. And then, yeah.
Okay, the next question says that, parents are saying that they're really close to the child, but one topic that they cannot penetrate is about love interests. So how do you make, your child comfortable to open up in this area?
You can bring it up first to the child. You can say that, hey, we talk about almost everything, I would really like to talk to you about this, so what are your thoughts about it? So maybe you can just ask, what's stopping him or her to not share this with you. Maybe the fellow say, oh, I'm shy, or I don't want to talk to you, I want to talk to mommy about it, or I don't want to, or I prefer talking this to daddy. Yeah, so you can just transparently, just ask, like what's making this conversation difficult, or maybe sometimes it's just our assumption, maybe it's our own discomfort that we project into our child. Maybe just say, sometimes you just want to check, are you comfortable if I talk to you about this, so you can just ask them directly. Yeah.
Okay, so that's all the written questions. Anyone else have another question? We still have a few more minutes. If you want to just throw it up in the chat. As I said, if it's really personal, you don't want anyone to see who it came from, then you can also write to the host or co-host, put it directed right to us. But we're all family here, so it's okay. You can put it up in the chat as well, anywhere, to everyone. So to see if we'll give it one more minute for a question. In the meantime, while we wait for another question, I think Clint's going to ask a question. Okay.
So Jane, I just wanted to know some success stories, that would encourage us. What's your greatest success story as a counselor? Like, in a situation where someone was really like showed no progress, and then something that you did to help.
Okay. There are, okay, although I'm thinking it may seem like it's not very common, but there are. Okay. I'll just take it on top of my head. I have a few suicidal clients, where they were really on the edge of committing suicide already. But at the very last minute, they actually reached out to the hotline and call, and the hotline just asked them to just hang in there and go to somewhere public, where you'll be safe and things like that. So they did that. After that, they came for counseling. And sometimes, where it seems that there's no, I mean, like week after week, I've been seeing the student and he's still like that. He's taking medication, he's still feeling all down and very vengeful towards his parents. This one was the trigger was a family issue. So. But sometimes instead of focusing on like fixing the family issues, that wasn't our goal, because he clearly doesn't want to do anything to family, right? But of course, our instinct would be like, how can you have to repair, you have to reconcile, you have to forgive, But sometimes maybe that's not what the client wants, and so I have to go along with what he wants, so that we have a greater alliance, so that he will trust me and so that he won't treat me as just like you're just same as everyone else, So I have to be on his side. I have to have that. I have to portray to him I got his back. So what we agreed on is then he can build other meaningful relationships in his life. So that's what we work on. Work on his relationship skills, and how he's also socially awkward and things like that. How he can open up himself a bit more because of the family issues. Like he's not very willing to open up to his friends and so, because he feels that he will be hurt again. So we try to build other forms of support, other forms of network, other areas of his life where his life can be meaningful and also have meaningful relationships apart from just family. And thankfully, he's okay. He buy in the idea. So they have to buy in the idea, So sometimes it's not just like we want to do this for them. So they have to buy in. He buy in, and then he worked very hard for it. He really take a risk, to make himself vulnerable. And then he found himself a girlfriend. Then he was very happy. And then that's it, bye-bye. Don't need to see me anymore. So sometimes, it's okay. You cannot fix this one part. It doesn't mean that you cannot build another part of their life. So like I say, focus on not just what is wrong, but in the meantime, maybe he's not ready yet about the family relationship, but maybe he's not ready. So it's okay. Just build on other parts of his life. Yeah, so that's
Joynn, we have another question here. It says, in your experience, have you encountered clients or students who are extremely quiet?
Yeah.
And what do you do to overcome it?
Okay. Okay. So we in our sharing here, we talk a lot about heart-to-heart talk and all these things. But not all clients are very verbal. Some of them don't like talking, especially with guys. Even knowingly, like they come for counseling, they should know that it's about talking, right? But actually, they do not want to talk. Okay, they just sit down there. Maybe if I ask them one question, they answer. So some are not very verbal. So maybe you want to understand what else may work for them to express themselves. Maybe it's through art, it's through music, it's through playing games. Maybe they express themselves better. Like sometimes they cannot find the right words to tell you about the experiences. But maybe if you use games, terminologies, analogies, movies, music. I have one client who's so into music. So sometimes she just come in and then we will just explore, okay, what music reflects your mood today, So she will show me the music, her playlist, So you find different avenues to engage the person. Yeah, so just, sometimes they're just, maybe trust is not there. Trust is not there because I work at the university. Sometimes they think that I'm with the university. If they tell me something, then I might report it to the university, Yeah. So different avenues of engaging the person.
Thanks. That's some great ideas. That's really creative. Thanks, Joynn, for that. Okay, I think we're reaching the end of our time here this evening, and we've reached the last of the questions. You may still have some more questions, but I think you've answered them really, really well tonight. So first and foremost, could I just ask everyone to give Joynn a great applause for her taking the time to do this? Okay, you can't hear them, but you can see their hands. Okay, thanks so much for all of your sharing tonight. And thank all of you for coming. So it's so great to see such great participation from everyone and you giving up your Wednesday night to come and understand students. And I hope that as we close this evening, that you understand what students are going through better now than you did an hour ago. And I know that I do, okay? So I hope that helps all the rest of us well. And actually we have more Wednesday nights coming up. So I'm gonna ask Clint to just give us a quick announcement on what is coming up that you can register for in the future.
Okay, so we got something really exciting coming out on the 24th of February. After you finish stuffing your faces with Chinese New Year, you're gonna go on to something really meaty, which is strolling through the Old Testament. And we have none other than Pastor Peter, who will be leading us on a four-week journey all the way throughout end of February till March. So just be on the lookout. Watch this space as we'll go through this entire very fulfilling journey to look at what God has done through Jesus, even in the Old Testament. So yep, just watch this space. So thank you very much, everyone. I just want to say a quick prayer. Anything else? I'll just say a quick prayer and then just speak blessings over all of you. Let's just pray. Jesus, we thank you, Lord, that students are still children, are still teens, and we believe, Lord, that your love has always been there for every single person, Lord. And sometimes though, we may not be able to connect, but we know that you love every single person. And Jesus, we just pray that you help us to be